Alright, everybody. Let's see Yugoslavia's lost country. Does this guy know what he's talking about? Or is it more propaganda bullshit?
Can't wait for all the angry comments I'll get from Serbian people. When you look at this old map of Yugoslavia, you see 8 different regions.
Oh, this is not the correct map. You're missing Sandzak right here. Sandzak. You're missing the real provinces of Bosnia here and here. So this is not the correct map. This is made up map.
Within it, each with their own government and local parliament. But
And this, what is this? No, Kosovo is a country. Kosovo is its own country, own administration. Also this, Vojvodina, own administration, own country.
when you look at a modern
If Montenegro, fictional country, and Serbia and Croatia can exist, then Vojvodina and Kosovo. Of course, Kosovo exists. You need a passport to go to Kosovo, so of course Kosovo exists. And Sandzak, of course, here. So yeah.
map of the region, there's only 7 sovereign states. One of them,
Already used a wrong map.
Vojvodina, is missing. Now, there's an argument to be made that Vojvodina isn't independent yet. Yugoslav nations didn't all achieve independence.
And why is it not? Because the Serbians stole all the arms from the Yugoslavian army. They pretty much ran the Yugoslavian army and they stole everything. So people in Vojvodina could not do anything.
At the same time. First, it was Croatia, Slovenia, Macedonia, Bosnia, then
No, that is not true. First country in Yugoslavia, Serboslavia, but Yugoslavia, the first country to get its independence was actually Serbia in 91. I think, was it 90 or 91? 91, I think. They held a referendum giving themselves ultimate power of their own country. So, which meant that the communistic model were put under the Serb extremist, I don't know, referendum law, whatever, that they gave themselves in 91. So, already there, the video is wrong. But yeah, let's see.
Montenegro broke away from Serbia. Then Kosovo did too, much to their displeasure. So maybe Vojvodina.
The only reason why Montenegro broke away from Serbia was not because the Montenegrin people wanted to. No, it was because by doing that by default, this province here, Sandzak, would have a more difficult time getting its independence, because now it has to deal with 2 countries. So that is why. Serbia basically controls Montenegro. You can go out in YouTube and watch how they took the, what's it called? They had the power in Montenegro the last 30 years, whatever, blah, blah. Everybody know this. This is just sloppy YouTube work. If you gotta make a video, make a good video, bro. Make a correct video with all information.
Is next. Maybe it's a way for Serbia's democratic forces to oppose their repressive regime and finally join up with Europe. It does, however.
Serbia is never gonna get in Europe. Listen, Serbia, the problem with Serbia, it doesn't know where it wanna sit. Does it wanna sit in Europe, or does it wanna sit in Russia? That's the problem. Serbia don't know what they want to do, because you gotta understand, there is different powers in Serbia. You have the communist powers, you have the Orthodox Church powers, you have the Western powers, you have the American powers. You listen, bro. If you gotta go into fucking Serbia's political powers, shit, bro.
Seemed like too long has passed. And to be fair, there's no relevant movement for it, as far as I know. But Why? Why was Vojvodina the only major region of Yugoslavia that failed to become its own country?
Because it doesn't have an army. Vojvodina is a mix of people. It's mix.
Let's find out. To understand any of this, we have to first look at what Vojvodina actually is. It's a flat, very fertile expanse of the Pannonian Plain, defined by the Danube River, the Tisza River, and the Sava River. Unlike the mountainous, rugged terrain of central and southern Serbia, Vojvodina is a sea of corn, sunflowers, and wheat. It's very agriculture heavy. It's different from the rest of Serbia in
Why the fuck don't you just say it's a flat terrain without any fucking mountains and all of that? Just say it's a fucking flat terrain that is fertile. God damn, bro.
geography, crops, but also in its history. For centuries, this patch of land was the southern frontier of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, while the rest of Serbia was under the rule of the Ottomans.
Stop. Why he's saying rest of Serbia? There was no Serbia at that time. At that time, Serbia did not exist.
This created two very different cultural identities for a while.
What is this map? What is this? What is this? This is not existed. This do not exist. This exists right now because of G-site. This is not a real areas Orthodox people lived.
Vojvodina became a melting pot of Serbs, sure, but also some Austrians and a lot of Hungarians.
Okay, what is this? First of all, 35% in the 1880s. Sure. And listen, we gotta understand in this time, we gotta understand the global politics. In this time, you had the Russians over here, you had the Austro-Hungarians right here. They were both Christians. They collaborated with each other. So yeah, they had people like Serbians here, and then they went into people who were Orthodox and Christians in these areas, and what's it called? Radicalized them and armed them and made them go out and attack their neighbors. That's pretty much the real history.
Romanians, Slovaks, Croats, and Rusins were also part of the mix. Many people called it the intellectual and cultural engine of the Serbian people.
Yeah, because they're not native to down here. The fuck, bro? What the fuck are you guys talking about?
During the 18th and 19th centuries, a place.
And what is this Serbian blah blah? There was no Serbian at that time. People would identify totally different at that time. What the fuck, bro?
Where Central Europeans met their Balkan neighbors. But there's a key thing here. Despite being a part of Austro-Hungary, it was full of Serbs who lived there. So why? Back in the late 1600s, thousands of Serbian families moved north into the Habsburg lands to escape the Ottoman rule. The Austrian emperors gave them land and certain privilege at start. In exchange,
Yeah, and they joined their army and attacked Ottoman lands. These people up here attacked Ottoman lands, G-sided, did all kinds of things. When they still had the rights and land here, if they wanted to.
for them acting as a sort of shield against the Turks. This area became known as the
Actually, that's not even true. These guys just got brought in from up here and all kinds of places, bro. These guys are not native to this here. These guys, no fucking chance these guys are native to this here. This is fucking false propaganda shit. What the fuck is this guy talking about? Hell no, this is not true. This is not true.
military frontier.
This shit, these guys who moved up here in the 16th century, those guys can maybe be people who collaborated with the Hungarians at that time, who the Orthodox didn't like, because the Orthodox wanted the Ottomans to free them from Hungarian rule, because at that time Serbia, not Serbia, but the Orthodox in this part of the land was occupied by Hungarians. And the Hungarians, as far as I know, there were they Orthodox or were they Catholic? I don't remember. But they didn't like, the Serbians didn't like them. That was also why they supported the Ottoman Empire through the history. When they was taking Constantinople, the Serbians were helping the Ottomans. We all know this. This is fucking factual. This is historical facts, bro. So these guys who moved up here, they were probably sympathizers and working with the Hungarians, who were Orthodox, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Serbs there were defending the empire, they developed a strong sense of local identity. But it was an identity rooted in being the protectors of Serbdom rather than the protectors of.
But still, we're not talking about. No, wait, it's probably coming later.
The Austrian Empire. Especially because, while they were invited into the region and allowed to be there, Vojvodina was a part of the Hungarian kingdom within the Union. It was subject to a process of Magyarization, promoting the Hungarian language and culture, and trying to turn it into a core province of Hungary. In a way, this fueled Serbian nationalism as well. This is the first major reason why Vojvodina never became a separate country. Its historical mission was to be the cradle of Serbian national revival, not to be something else entirely. While the Serbs in the south were fighting guerrilla wars for independence.
It was not guerrilla wars. It was backstabbing. It was not honorable. It was just nasty, bro. There's no honor in what the Serbs did.
The Serbs in Vojvodina were building schools, printing books, and drafting the blueprints for a modern.
So what you want to say is that the propaganda and the brainwashing of Orthodox people in these areas came from this place.
Serbian state. That state was, interestingly, first achieved in the south.
But still, these guys up here, they hated these guys. And these guys up here, down here, still hated these guys.
Guerrilla movements secured autonomy within the Ottoman Empire.
Listen, just because you go out with the army here, that doesn't mean you own this. That's not how it functions.
Empire, and as the empire,
they didn't conquer here. That's not true. What the fuck is here? Nah, bruh. Here, they didn't conquer here.
Weakened, they achieved full independence in 1878, consolidating.
What the fuck is this even, bro?
It in the Balkan Wars. The northern Serbs saw this as an incredible opportunity. They started moving south to Belgrade to help build the new government and its.
No. They G-sided everybody who was here. Listen, these people, you gotta understand. Here was filled with Muslims. Here, this was filled with Muslims, Bosnians, Albanians. A little percentage, maybe 5% of Turkish, all kinds. Also, if you want, you can call them Serbs who converted to Islam long time ago. That counted as Muslims. You know, bro, here was all kinds of Muslims. They got ethnically cleansed, G-sided, forcefully converted, or just thrown out of the land.
Bureaucracy. They didn't stay up north and try to declare a separate independence. Instead, they provided the intellectual backbone for a pan-Serbian movement that would get to eventually.
Because it wasn't their country. It's that easy. It wasn't their country. It was Hungarian and Austrian country.
Annex Vojvodina itself, as well as Bosnia and Herzegovina, were.
Yeah, and this shit is fake, bro. This is genocide, ethnic cleansing. Also here, all the way, bro.
Many Serbs lived in the eastern part, which had kind of recently been annexed by the Austro-Hungarians.
This is just a project of Europe wanting to exterminate Muslims in the west of Balkan and east of Balkan. This is what you get.
In fact, the start of World War I is, as you probably know, connected to this. The attack on Serbia, protected by Russia, came after a Serb student assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
He wasn't just a Serb student, he was fucking a part of the Black Hand and blah blah blah. Shut the fuck up. Don't act like he was some kind of. Bro, who gave him money? Who gave him money? What
In
was his
Bosnia.
real identity? Who gave him money? Who the fuck gave money for that?
Yeah. When World War I ended and the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed in 1918, the people of Vojvodina had a choice. There was a brief moment where things could have gone very differently, but the local Great People's Assembly in Novi Sad voted to join the Kingdom of Serbia directly, instead of considering independence or remaining within Austria or Hungary. Remaining was never really a possibility nor a desire. The Treaty of Trianon, which broke Hungary apart, had
Exactly. There was no fucking forget about that referendum. After World War One, Austro-Hungary needed to get abolished, and land was given away to different parties and different countries. That's it.
already established, they would lose their former territory. But Serbs in Vojvodina didn't even wait for the rest of the South Slavs to figure out the details of the new kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes that would go on to become Yugoslavia. It was still being formed after the war. They wanted in with Belgrade immediately. At the time, the idea of a separate Vojvodinian nation didn't exist. There were just Serbs who lived in the north and wanted to be unified with their brothers in the south, even if there was another union on
What the fuck is this guy talking about, bro? Is this guy retarded?
top of that. And they achieved it within that kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. During World War II, however, Hungary re-annexed Vojvodina, at least part of it, and many Serbs were persecuted, with Serbia/Yugoslavia only regaining it after the end of the war. And interestingly, up until recent times, Hungary maintained a tactic of soft power over the region still, accepting Serbian sovereignty but keeping strong cultural and economic connections with Vojvodina, even granting Hungarian passports to people of Hungarian heritage that live there. Now that Hungary's regime is changing, that strategy might change too. But let's get
No, it isn't. It's gonna get worse.
back to the story. Fast forward to the Tito era in Yugoslavia, this is where the modern failure to achieve statehood, or the lack of a push for it, really takes shape. It's also where the idea that it could have happened is planted for an outside viewer like myself. Tito realized that Serbia was the largest and most powerful entity in Yugoslavia, and to keep the federation stable, he needed to balance that power. And he did this by creating a new constitution that introduced two autonomous provinces within Serbia, Kosovo in the south and Vojvodina in the north. This gave Vojvodina its own parliament,
He's still forgetting Sandzak.
its own government, and its own seat at the federal table. It's why we see it as a sort of separate nation within Yugoslavia in that first map. And for a few decades, Vojvodina did function almost like a republic. It was wealthy, stable, and highly autonomous. And during that period, a specific Vojvodinian regional identity did start to grow. People weren't necessarily saying that they weren't Serbs or Hungarians for some of them, but they were starting to feel that being from the north meant something a little different. The turning point was the late 1980s, when Slobodan Milosevic came to power. He saw the autonomy of Vojvodina and especially Kosovo as a threat to Serbian unity. In 1988, he orchestrated what became known as the Yogurt Revolution. It sounds a little funny, but it wasn't. It was a massive political upheaval where protesters, many bussed in from other places, but whatever, threw cartons of yogurt at the provincial government buildings in Novi Sad and
Listen, it's like saying just because there is a slight majority of one religion's group that this area suddenly it's theirs when it isn't. There's many other religious groups and many other nationalities. So why the fuck should the fucking Serbians have any fucking rights there? Honestly, that's how it is, bro. Honestly, I don't get. These guys should just take independence. Say fuck you and take independence.
Till the local leadership resigned. Milosevic then stripped Vojvodina of any real power and autonomy. This was the moment where a separatist movement could have been born, similar to what happened in...
Exactly. They took all weapons, all infrastructure, media, everything, and the guys there, what they couldn't do nothing.
Slovenia or Croatia or Kosovo, but it didn't happen. The reason why is pretty simple. It's because Vojvodina was too ethnically mixed, and more importantly, it had a massive Serbian majority. And like the Croats or Slovenians, the Serbs in Vojvodina weren't going to fight a war to separate from their own ethnic kin in Belgrade, no matter how much they hated the central government's economic or political policies. At most, they were opposed to that government and wanted to replace it. Throughout the 1990s, while Yugoslavia was tearing itself apart in very bloody wars, Vojvodina remained relatively quiet. There were some anti-war protests, and the regionalist parties like the League of Social Democrats of Vojvodina gained some political ground, but the demand was always peace and autonomy rather than independence. They wanted, essentially, their money back. Vojvodina was always the breadbasket and the wallet of Serbia, but they weren't looking to build a border on the Danube and become independent. The lack of a distinct Vojvodinian identity and ethnicity was the biggest structural barrier to nationhood. In the Balkans, the path to a country usually requires a unique language, a unique religion, or a deep-seated ethnic historical grievance against the neighbor or occupier. Vojvodina has plenty of grievances about...
That's absolutely not true. That is propaganda and lies. The Serbians and Croatians are using to do genocide. It's not their fucking lands, bro. None of this is fucking their lands, bro. Go fucking back to where the fuck you came from. The migrants in fucking this land. This is Bosnian lands. This is fucking Bosnian territory who these guys fucking genocided and did all kinds of things to get. The fuck?
Taxes, infrastructure, even some political aspects, but it's hard to build a national identity on we want better management of our agricultural subsidies, for instance. Another big factor is the demographic shift. Over the last century, especially after the World Wars and the wars of the 90s, the population of Vojvodina changed a lot. Many Germans were
because of genocide.
Expelled after World War II. Many Hungarians left for political and economic reasons, and hundreds of thousands of Serb refugees from Croatia and Bosnia moved in. These newcomers brought a much more pro-Serbia and nationalist outlook with them. They didn't have the centuries of Pannonian history that the old Lala, which apparently is a nickname for the local Vojvodinians, and their families had. This diluted the regionalist sentiment. If you ask a refugee who settled in a village near Vrzak, for instance, in 1995, if Vojvodina should be a country, they're probably going to think you're crazy to even ask. To them, Vojvodina is the land that saved them and brought them back into the Serbian nation. But let's play a little bit of the what-if game. What would happen if Vojvodina would achieve statehood? How could they do it in some alternate reality or the distant future? I don't think it would happen through a war of independence. It's not the style of the region, although it's definitely the style of the Balkans. I think in modern times it would have to be an exit.
No, it's not the style of the Balkans, because the only war in the Balkans when the Serbians and Croatians have weapons and the Bosnians don't. So there will be no war because the Bosnians have weapons. So these guys, the cowards, they don't want to fight.
Based purely on economic and political divergence. If Serbia were to permanently stall in its European integration or fall...
Listen, tomorrow if Hungary was like, listen, this is my fucking land, I'm gonna fucking walk in with my troops and take this shit. Serbia is gonna do nothing, bro. It's gonna do absolutely nothing. They're gonna be like, yeah, okay, bro, but remember Belgrade, it's ours. Is that okay? Yeah. Listen, Serbia is sucking tea on fucking Hungary for not doing anything. What the fuck are you guys talking about? The fuck?
Into a prolonged period of economic collapse and political isolation if the regime tightens its authoritarian grip. The business elites and the youth in Novi Sad might start looking at the border with Hungary and Croatia with envy, especially when Hungary has just recently replaced their own semi-dictator. You could see a scenario where a Vojvodina republic is pitched as a way to fast track into democracy and the European Union. In this sort of speculative future, the movement would have to be civic, not ethnic. It would have to be a sort of citizens' republic, where being Vojvodinian is an identity based on living in the region and
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, bro. That's just a fucking illusion.
respecting its multi-ethnic heritage and European identity, rather than being a Serb or a Hungarian. They would have to lean very heavily on the Central Europeanness of their history, the Habsburg legacy, the cafe culture, the orderly urban planning to differentiate themselves from the Balkan South. They would probably use the 1974 constitution as a legal jumping point, arguing that their autonomy was illegally taken away and that they are reverting to the natural state as a federal entity that no longer has a federation.
Exactly, like Sanjak. And you know, maybe what's gonna be left of Serbia at the end is gonna be maybe this. They're gonna keep this. Bosnia is gonna take its spot back, like this. It's gonna take its spot back, and Serbia is gonna maybe be this. That's good.
To belong to. But how would they do as an independent country? Honestly, I think pretty well. They are a landlocked territory, which is a downside, but they control the most important stretch of the Danube River, which is one of the main arteries for trade within Europe. It has some of the most fertile soil in the world. It's the famous Black Earth. It has oil and gas deposits in Banat, which, while not on a, Saudi Arabia level, they're enough to give a small country a massive head start. Economically, Vojvodina is already the most developed part of Serbia, outside of the capital of Belgrade. If it didn't have to send its tax revenue to the central treasury to fund projects in the south or pay off national debts, it would likely see a massive spike in its standard of living. Novi Sad would become a real regional capital. It would attract embassies, international banks, more corporate headquarters, and investment. The multi-ethnic nature of the region, which is currently a barrier to separatist unity, would become its biggest selling points to an international community. A Vojvodina Republic would be marketed as a perfect mini Europe, a place where 5 or 6 official languages can coexist peacefully. It would be the antithesis to the war-torn authoritarian stereotype and Serbia's pro-Russia and seemingly anti-Europe government. But even if there was a local will to do it, there would be other massive obstacles. The biggest one would be Belgrade. No Serbian government, whether liberal or conservative, would ever let Vojvodina go without a fight, and they're used to fighting. Belgrade and Novi Sad are physically and economically fused together. Thousands of people commute between them every day. The infrastructure is deeply integrated. Serbia without Vojvodina would feel lost, losing its most productive land and its historical link to Central Europe. Furthermore, the international community doesn't seem to have an appetite for more border changes and disputes in the Balkans. After the messy independence of Kosovo, the EU and the US are generally in a status quo mode when it comes to the region. They don't want to deal with another.
Yeah, because they know the next move, Serbia is gonna disappear. They know this. Serbia fucking lost badly and Croatia lost badly. So if they do any wrong moves, Serbia and Croatia is gonna disappear, bro. Because honestly, let's be honest. Kosovo, it's gonna fuck up Serbia, bro. Honestly. It's gonna be like something like this, bro. It's gonna be Kosovo. Like this. Nah, like this. Nah, like this. That's gonna be Kosovo. If Serbia tries anything. And Bosnia, it's gonna just move in, bro. It's gonna take Sanjak. It's gonna take these parts. You know, Serbia is gonna be left, I don't know, Vojvodina. If Hungary moves in, bro, forget it, bro. Yeah, I don't know if that's even gonna be left as Serbia. So yeah, I think Europe have pity on Serbia because it's like, yo, bro, you don't know what you're doing, bro. We're just gonna handle it from here.
Small landlocked state that might create more instability or trigger a domino effect in places like Bosnia. I mean, if Serbia lost Vojvodina, they might actually try to annex Republika Srpska from
No. RS is gonna be removed, abolished. It's 110%, million billion percent sure this is gonna be removed. Sandzak here is gonna come back. I don't know what's gonna be happening with Montenegro because they've been doing bad things. So we gotta agree with our brethren in Kosovo, and if we agree, maybe it's gonna be there, maybe it's gonna not be there, maybe we're gonna take half. I don't know. But this, brother, forget about it. This 5 seconds, brother, you don't know.
their neighbors. Without external backing, a Vojvodinian independence movement would likely fail. But in the end, Vojvodina failed to become a country because it was never really trying to be one. It was always caught between two roles.
No, that is not true. I have not studied so much Vojvodinian history, but if it's like the rest of the southern history of this part, the reason why it looked like this is because of ethnic cleansing, genocide, forceful conversion, forceful removement, all kinds of things. So probably the same things happened up here. So probably that's why. So probably a lot of people up here are mad for being expelled from down here.
Being the northern shield of the Serbian people and being a distinct multicultural entity. Most people there seem to have settled for a middle ground. They want to be part of Serbia, but they want Serbia to look more like Vojvodina, more organized, more prosperous, more democratic, and more European. The dream of an independent Vojvodina remains a very...
It cannot happen. It will never happen. But that should happen. Serbia cannot exist, bro. Serbia is built on fucking genocide and fucking keeping people down, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? This is not a serious analyze. This is sloppy analyzation, honestly.
Fringe idea, maybe discussed in some cafes in Novi Sad, but as long as the tractors are moving in the fields and the Danube keeps flowing and trade keeps coming, the region seems content to remain Serbia's unique, slightly frustrated, but ultimately loyal northern half. And I think for most people there, the failure to achieve nationhood wasn't a tragedy. It was just a historical choice to stay home and be a part of their own Serbian nation.
This guy do not know what he's talking about. This like, yeah, this bullshit video, not the real global politics bullshit, big bullshit. So see you guys next time.